Hallo, herzlich willkommen zur 30. Folge von Suzerain zusammen mit Apfel.
Hallo.
Letzte Folge haben wir unsere Immigration Law ein bisschen getightend. Und heute schauen wir mal,
Party.
Acacia offers aid. The Foreign Minister of Acacia has offered us a sustainable amount of financial, logistical and equipment support to help our country. In return, Acacia requests refuel and repair access to the Alloy Air Force Base whenever they require. President Dwight Walker has sent a personal assurance that this agreement is for peaceful purpose only. Wir kriegen Geld! Ist scheißegal für was es ist! I don't care!
Das sind die grünen Zahlen.
Woo! Wir schreiben wieder schwarze Zahlen. Nichts mehr rot hier, Jungs. Okay, Private Party. Far from becoming accustomed to my workload as president, I only felt more and more snowed under as the weeks passed. It had been ages since I had any time to myself. I was starting to lose my focus and my temper was growing increasingly thin. Peter was the first to realize I needed a break. After much cajoling, he finally persuaded me to come to a meeting of his new venture, Gentlemen's Club. For the past few months, he'd been hosting a saloon of sorts, not just for politicians and businessmen, but also for artists, entertainers, people of taste. He hauled me with a smile on his face.
Weißt du, was mich das erinnert?
Nee.
Sherlock Holmes Chapter 1, die
Ja.
Maskenparty, wo wir waren.
Das war aber eine Orgie.
Ja, das ist Peter.
There was only one rule. No wives or girlfriends allowed. Hence the name.
Ah, okay.
And so I found myself in front of his new luxury villa in Alloy. Very loud jazz music emanated from inside. I waited and waited. Finally, Peter opened the door. I could smell the whiskey on his breath.
Anton, finally! Now the real party can start. Come on in.
As soon as I entered, Peter closed the door and turned to the small crowd.
Gentlemen, a minute of your time, please. I now have the privilege to present to you the man himself, the 4th President of Scotland, Mr. Anton Rainey.
Woo! I'd known him for long enough to understand that he was more than a little drunk. He made an elaborate mock curtsy as I passed him and walked into the room. The music stopped and I felt everyone's eyes on me. Zwei oder drei?
Zwei.
And I present you Peter Recton, the first alcoholic vice president of Scotland. My joke didn't sit well with Peter, not the crowd. There was a short awkward silence before he continued. Schade.
Dear members, ja echt so. Please give a warm welcome to our very special guest. If I may, Anton, here, take this.
He handed me a glass of whiskey and put his hand on my shoulder. Ich dachte, wir kriegen jetzt so einen Partyhut, so einen kleinen.
We all know why we are gathered here tonight. To celebrate life. To have a brief escape from our tumultuous professions. Tumultuous. Oops. I personally don't know any better cure for stress than a little drink.
I drink to that. People in the crowd laughed and raised their glasses.
I save. Now, the tradition dictates that as the club president, I have to remind you of our house rules. There are 3. No politics, no wives, no one sober. Cheers!
Peter drank the whiskey in his glass in one go. Drink your glass! I followed suit and drank my glass. I was immediately replenished.
That's already might have the power to make presidential decrees, but I, Peter Recton, the president of this club, now declare this party started. Music, go!
Ja, wie geil. The band started up again! Which song do we want to hear? The same song again! The same song again!
And
After greeting the crowd around me, I felt a hand on my shoulder.
let me show you around.
We walked through the corridors of his mansion. Statues and paintings lined the stark white walls. An arched window provided a view of the neatly manicured grounds, complete with a swimming pool. A grand lesbian marble staircase led up to the second story. Peter gestured at the massive crystal chandelier hanging overhead.
That chandelier was made in the 18th century. Can you believe it? There's even a hedge maze in the garden.
What's the story behind this chandelier? How are you paying for all of this? An 18th century chandelier? A hedge maze? A little much, isn't it? Ich will die Story hinter dem Chandelier hören.
Echt so. I don't know, but I don't care. It just looks expensive,
Fuck you,
and I like
yeah.
it. I'll let you in on a secret.
Oh, mein Stuhl.
Gus Munger has a lot of contacts in real estate. He brokered a good deal for me. He'll also be here tonight. I can introduce you if you like.
Wir kennen den doch. Wir kennen ihn doch.
Fug?
Do you think he could arrange a deal for me as well? What did you promise him in return? Living in a lavish mansion while my country suffers, it's not for me. Do you think he could arrange a deal for me as well?
Why wouldn't he? I'm sure he can give you some investment options.
We continued walking until we circled back to where we had started.
So, what do you think of my little hideaway?
Not bad at all. It's amazing, but I'd hardly call it a hideaway. More like a palace. Frankly, I find it disgusting. Ja, 1 oder 2.
Ah, not bad.
Not bad at all.
Thanks! You know that you, Monica, and the kids are always welcome here. I arranged for some
Yeah?
caviar to be brought in from Les... Yes.
Ich habe meinen so gesprungen.
Oh, anyway, let's get back to the party. I arranged for some caviar to be brought in from Lesbia. You're going to love it.
He opened the door to the main hall and we rejoined the other guests. The music was louder now and the mood decidedly more inebriated. Wäre es jetzt ein Sherlock Holmes Game, wären die jetzt alle tot. Cocktail waitresses were carrying around plates of canapes, wearing dresses that left little to the imagination. I thought this was a gentleman's club. Gestured one of the waitresses to come over. So this is what you've been hiding from Evelyn? Gestured one of the waitresses to come over. I gestured at one of the waitresses to come over. She was in her mid-20s, wearing red lipstick, her blonde hair neatly tied into a ponytail. On her plate were toast points slathered in the lesbian caviar Peter had mentioned. I took a bite. It was rich. Es war reich. Salty, tasting of pure seaside. I could almost hear the sound of the wolves and seagulls.
Rich flavor.
Nein.
Ich hab doch nicht Farbe gegessen.
Same. Ich würde aber gerne.
Ich wüsste nicht mal, ob ich es probieren will.
Schön, ich schon.
Scheiße, ich war mal wo es gab und ich hab Nein gesagt.
Ich auch.
Geil.
Zweimal.
Ich muss mal probieren, so
ja,
viele Möglichkeiten, so, ja, nee, heute nicht.
Ja, die Überwindung dann, wenn du dir überlegst, das sind Fischeier. Ja, es ist schon eine Überwindung, aber wir essen Hühnereier auch und ich glaube, es ist wenig Unterschied eigentlich. Wenn ich so drüber nachdenke.
Eigentlich.
Ich hätte es probieren sollen, aber ich habe mich nicht getraut.
Okay.
Irgendwann kommt es. Du machst es jetzt morgen direkt.
Ja. Österreich, ich komme. Ja, das safe etwas.
Es gibt in Österreich, es gibt in Salzburg sogar einen Laden, bei dem kostet jeder Teller 10 Euro, egal was drauf ist.
Oh.
Und du bestellst halt von der Karte und dann kannst halt, also, wenn du jetzt halt wahrscheinlich irgendwas Teures bestellst, wird da halt weniger drauf sein, ne? Aber wenn du richtig bestellst, machst du Gewinn.
Oh, da muss ich mal hinschauen. Lesbian caviar, best in the world, I'm telling you, Anton. There are few pleasures in life that are this.
As the waitress left us to serve another attendee, she flashed a quick smile at Peter over her shoulder. He smiled back. a little too broadly.
Sensual.
His eyes were still fixed on her, with an expression I remembered from our many nights out together as students.
Oh, look, there's Gus. Why don't you go talk to him? I'll be back shortly.
Oh, God.
Ah, man.
Where are you going?
Oh, just to the washroom. I'll be back before you know it.
Ja, tschüss. Ist mir auch egal. Wer war Gus? War Gus ich?
Keine Ahnung.
Ja. Gus Moshe was standing next to a couple of men that I recognized as banking industry magnates. As I approached, all of them turned to me and bowed their heads. Mr. President! A toast to our new member! Everyone! Gus and I clinked our glasses as the people around us raised theirs. You don't seem at all surprised to see me here. How long have you been a member? I heard this mentioned as a result of your connections. How long have you been a member? Since the beginning. It's a fun gathering and quite lucrative at times. You might have heard from Peter that I arranged the deal for this mansion. He also told me that you might be interested in potential opportunities. Such as, well, this. He opened his arms, gesturing at our opulent surroundings. Let's take a walk. The balcony has an amazing view of Ellery. We left the room and made our way to the balcony. On the way, he took out 2 cigars and held one out for me. Take the cigar! I took the cigar and started smoking it. Mixed with a taste of whiskey, it was delicious. We went out to the balcony of Ellery. All of Ellery was at our feet. From this vantage point, I was able to see how expensive the building plot was. The swimming pool and the hedge maze were visible from here. Leaning over the railing, I admired the view for a moment before Gus spoke up. Lass mich mal schnell was nachschauen. I know you're wondering about the deal Peter made. In a nutshell, thanks to my network, he was able to procure this house for half the asking price, which would have been impossible under any other circumstance. I would be delighted to discuss a similar arrangement with you. In fact, I have prepared a document with my own personal favorite opportunities. This is the least I can do, since you have been generous to many business people in the country. I'm glad my investment decisions are paying off. What's in it for you? Nothing, Mr. President. It's a simple thank you for supporting me. He downed his whiskey. Let's talk about the details then. Gus opened his briefcase and pulled out a thin dossier. He showed it to me. My first offer is, of course, real estate. There is a vineyard close to Ellery, about a 1-hour drive from here. That also includes a very large villa, a beautiful plot, and rather neglected, so there would be a fair amount of renovations costs. On the bright side, you would be able to produce your own wine. The previous owner was Gerald of Ribery, a world-renowned vintner. There's also the opportunity of a football partnership. I already own a large portion of Enrica FC, and I'm doing my best to make them champions. Buying in would be more expensive than the vineyard, but this season will bring a lot of returns. I'm quite positive. My biggest opportunity, though, is the possibility to buy shares in the underwhole construction. My connections ensured me that this would not be open to public and would benefit you greatly. As you know, they are the biggest construction company in Scotland. Give me the word and I will start the procurement process. But we must act quickly, as these options might soon disappear off the market. Okay, das letzte Mal mit dem Vineyard, ich glaube nicht, dass der irgendwas gebracht hat. Ich glaube, wir hatten nur am Ende einen kleinen Text. Deswegen würde ich sagen,
ja,
entweder...
da sind wir doch hingeflohen, oder nicht?
Egal, wir müssen heute nicht fliehen. Entweder Unreal Construction oder Football. Football sounds exciting. Finde ich schon mal ein super Satz. Das ist dann wie jemand, der überhaupt keine Ahnung hat. Zwei Werfs sind halt alles, was wir haben, aber wofür brauchen wir es sonst? Ich würde eigentlich mit dem Fußballclub gehen.
Ja.
Ich meine, die bringen alle ein Achievement, deswegen sollten wir einen dritten Run machen, Underhall Construction nehmen, aber das nehmen wir mal mit dem Fußballclub.
Ja.
Da ist es schon FC Enrica. Wo ist Enrica überhaupt? Ich meine, das ist nicht mehr der Hauptstadtclub. Ist der überhaupt bei uns im Land?
Rika.
Haben wir gerade in den ausländischen Club investiert?
Da war da stand was über eine Rika bei dem Typen drin. FC Enrica.
Ach da! Oh mein Gott! In Gelsland. Ich will aber wissen, was da über den FC Enrica steht. FC Enrica is a Swedish professional football club based in Enrica. They plays in the Swedish Super League. The top tier in Swedish football, founded as Markian sport in 1905. The club changed to various names before settling on being called after its home city in 1923 as FC Enrica. Since 1940, FC Enrica's home ground has been the Maroon Stadium, nicknamed the Hall of Martyrs, one of the largest stadiums in Scotland and in all Eastern Macopa. FC Enrica is known as a people's club with a huge national support, particularly from the Great Sword region. The club has a long-standing rivalry with FC Gelsord. Its anthem is Eye to Eye, Tooth to Tooth.
Ich finde schon, dass der Nickname von dem Stadion einfach die Halle der Märtyrer ist.
Ja, und? Ja, natürlich haben die hier eine Konkurrenz in Enrica und Gelsord. FC Enrica has been playing in the Swedish Super League since the league's inception in 1944. Since then, the club has won 3 Super League titles. Internationally, it earned its fame on the runner-ups in the 1915 Macopan Cup. Macopa war unser Kontinent, ne?
Ich glaube schon, ja.
Also, zweiter ist stabil. Und wenn wir da Geld rein im West, ne? Dann geht's richtig ab, sag ich. Excellent! I will start the process right away. Now if you excuse me, Mr. President. He left to rejoin the party. Alone in the balcony. I looked out over Ellery.
Der Fußballclub bringt uns die zweistelligen Wealth.
Hoffe ich. Suddenly I heard a rustling from the hatchways below. I looked down and saw a silhouette. 2 silhouettes. Actually, so close together, they seemed to be entangled. I squinted and tried to get a better look. It was definitely 2 people kissing, but I couldn't see either of their faces. I returned to the party and spent some time mingling with the other guests, engaging them in small talk about their businesses, their children, their relationships. Around an hour later, Peter showed up next to me.
See, I told you you'd be back before I knew it.
It's been an hour, where were you?
I told you, I was in the washroom. Why?
Around the same time you were gone, I saw 2 people kissing in the hatchways. Gehen wir mal einen Weg außenrum.
Honey kitchen stuff, right? What do you even pay them for?
Right, the kitchen staff.
Ja, right.
Oder 2.
Du weißt, dass er so
Okay, 1.
Ja. Speaking of which, want a drink? Because I do.
He poured us 2 large glasses of whiskey, and we drank them in one go. Throughout the party, we drank and drank, and drank and drank. Just like old times. And we drank. I woke up the next day with a pounding headache? Headache or headache? Headache. Headache. And more than a few regrets. My memories of the evening were hazy. But there was one important detail that kept coming back to me. The red lipstick on Peter's collar. Ja, das fällt uns jetzt auf. Ne, das haben wir natürlich nicht gesagt.
Alter.
But maybe my memory was playing tricks on me. Und schon sind wir pleite. Gut, nächste Folge geht's nach Band 4. Wir waren noch nie hier oben, ne? In England. Nee. Krass. Berkshire waren wir schon? Also wir waren eigentlich schon überall. Ja, Lauren auch nicht.
Ja, stimmt.
Lauren und England waren wir noch nicht. Aber gut, dann war's es mit der Folge. Lasst ein Like und ein Abo da, wenn es euch gefallen hat. Schaut beim nächsten Mal wieder vorbei. Morgen 14 Uhr geht's weiter und tschüss.
Tschüss.